Yo, what's up, everybody? Welcome to another episode of LTB Live. I'm your host, John Delray. Today, recapping day 12 of Packers training camp. Yeah, as you can see, got the windscreen on today. A little bit more ready for the elements, although it's not nearly as gusty. But today is, for the most part, a pretty beautiful day in Green Bay today. Very sunny skies. It did get a bit toasty during practice, and that's why I put as the title of this video, we're in the dog days of training camp now. Because I talked yesterday about how, it really felt like we began to turn a corner post family night, that, the guys are getting sick of hitting each other. The weather's now consistently warm. And it's just the same thing day in and day out. They just want to go hit somebody else, right? And that was, again, the vibe today. Although today it was full pads. It was a much longer duration of practice today. LaFleur really pushing it to the full 2 hours today, unlike yesterday. And it was more intense. Nonetheless, still the vibe, in spite of some big plays, was like, hey, can we hit somebody else now? Because poor Kadeem Telfer getting real tired going against Rashawn Gary day in and day out. So I'm going to recap everything for you, the big plays, the details, the injuries. And I got to say, too, like today was one of those days. We had multiple players drop with injuries. We had some cramping issues on the field. Just one of those warm days. So let's go to the injuries first. First of all, Jordan Morgan, first-round pick. He is going to be out for about a week or so, is the exact quote from Matt LaFleur, with a shoulder injury. I talked yesterday about how looked like trainers were working on his pads for a while. Turns out it was actually his shoulder where something was going wrong. So he's out for a week or so. Sean Ryan, of course, slides right into right guard 1 while Morgan is out. Then we still have Dimitri Stanley out with his hamstring. Adrian Cooper continuing to be out with his groin and hip issues. Carrington Valentine, hamstring. Donovan Jennings, knee injury still. Deslin Alexander, lower leg. Keyshawn Banks, groin. And then the rougher news today, 3 guys that went down, but all seemingly okay. They continued practicing, or in the case of Christian Watson, it was at the very, very end. He then got up, gave thumbs up to the reporters, etc. But that would be Malik Heath, Anthony Johnson Jr., and Christian Watson. They all seem to be good to go. The one truly new injury for a guy that just straight up did not practice today, wide receiver Jaden Reed. Some kind of calf issue. Now, we don't have further details yet. That's all that was really revealed during practice. So I would figure in the coming days we'll learn more. Also, no public practice tomorrow, nothing open all the way until next week. So if we're going to get some info, it's going to be from someone on the inside. So we will have to see what's going on with Jaden Reed there. Then in terms of transactions, the Packers made a number of moves before kicking off practice number 12. So yesterday I put out on Facebook, Instagram, all that stuff, that the Packers signed Zach Morton, a defensive end. He spent some time in the UFL, formerly was a UDFA out of Akron University, spent last year with the Lions on their practice squad. Well, Packers had an open roster spot yesterday. Used it on Zach Morton. But they did make 2 more moves this morning. They signed Alex Hale, UDFA kicker from Oklahoma State, who they just worked out the other day. So now we're back to 3 kickers on the roster. Hale getting all the action today, by the way. And then they also signed Brevin Allen, another defensive end. And I got to say, both of these defensive end signings do make some sense, with Deslin Alexander continuing to be out, Keyshawn Banks continuing to be out. The depth at defensive end is pretty thin. So you bring in comparables, right? It does make some sense to bring these guys in. Then, in addition, the corresponding moves with that, they released waived injured designations. One would be Don Callis, who basically came in for a cup of coffee, hurt his hamstring, and now is cut. And then the other one would be Rory Starkey, the wide receiver. He's been waived with an injury designation. So with the 3 additions and the 2 releases, the Packers roster is now full up, back all the way to 91 men, which takes us to our starting lineup today. The starting lineup, granted, normally I get the starting lineup based off of walkthroughs, which is the very first thing they do when they hit the field. Today, though, a number of veterans were inside longer than normal. Practice kind of got going, and then you saw this clump of vets come out. I don't know if it was an additional meeting, but Jair was late to come out, McKinney, Watson, a number of veterans came out late. So this is the starting lineup once we got to actual 11 on 11s. And it was Love, Jacobs, Dobbs, Melton, Watson at wide receiver. Melton filling in for Jaden Reed with the calf injury. Musgrave. And then the line was Walker, Jenkins, Myers, Ryan, and Tom. Defensively, we saw Gary, Clark, Slayton, and Smith, Walker and McDuffie, Quay Walker back today, Stokes, Nixon, Jair, and then Bullard next to Xavier McKinney. Now for Javon Bullard, this is 3 straight days that Bullard has been the starting safety next to X. Yeah, they were going in this heavy 3-man rotation with Evan Williams and Bullard and Anthony Johnson Jr. 3 straight days now of just Javon Bullard. So I think we're finally getting some clarity at the second safety position. Just a couple other lineup notes here for you. When it got to one-on-ones, Jacob Monk, who has played almost exclusively at center, today he took one-on-ones at right guard. Lekita Smith, who's taken almost exclusive snaps at guard, took one-on-one snaps at center. And I've detailed the struggles of Jacob Monk, and Jacob Monk, he struggled again today. There's at least one play that I can think of off the top of my head where TJ Slayton downright erupted like a volcano on this dude, and like Monk stood no shot. Now, in his defense, in one-on-ones, Monk did do better. But I've been detailing the struggles of Jacob Monk thus far, and he did seem to do better at guard, at least in one-on-ones. So maybe there's something to that. Maybe they're trying to find new homes that are going to be temporarily best for these two guys. It remains to be seen. So then to get to the more concrete stuff before I just rattle off the stream of plays. The kicker today, they did not give any kicks to Joseph, no kicks to Carlson after yesterday. And to speak to the rough kicking performance yesterday, Matt LaFleur said in his press conference this morning that it was like kicking in a tornado for their final 4 attempts yesterday. I was in the stands. I wouldn't say it was quite like gale force winds, but like, yeah, it was real windy coming at the kickers yesterday. So LaFleur did seem ready to excuse the performance of Carlson and Joseph yesterday. Well, Hale got all the kicks today, wound up taking 6 attempts. Ultimately, he went 5 of 6 for the newcomer. He hit from 34, 41, 44, 33, and 40, but he missed from 44 wide left. That would be his last attempt. And here's the thing that I could say about Hale. He was brought in as the UDFA, and he just wants to rip it. Like a number of these went sailing over the net. Like he was not holding back his kicks. And that kick, that last 44 that he missed, oh, he had plenty of gusto on it. It just got pulled pretty dramatically. So now for the stream of plays, just to give you a feel, okay, there was one play towards the end that was kind of emblematic of the offense throughout 80% or so of the practice. And it was, Pratt was dropping back. I couldn't catch the number on the receiver, but he then threw it to the receiver. Receiver was not ready for the ball at all, and it actually popped him in the back of the helmet. That was kind of the offense for about 80% of the practice today. The offense just, yeah, there were some little splashes in one-on-ones. Grant Dubose had a nice catch. Romeo Dobbs had a nice catch in one-on-ones. But it just, once we got to 11-on-11s, once we actually got to playing the defense, the offense today, all the strings, looked fairly scattered. The offensive line, at least for the ones, did have some struggles. You know, that's why Devontae Wyatt is one of the players of the day, because there were a number of plays that he just straight up blew up. There was one play in particular at 11-on-11s where Love dropped back, and by the time he got to the back of his drop, Wyatt was already in his face. And Love just aired it completely off to the sideline. Luckily not corking a trainer today in the head. But, I mean, that was Devontae Wyatt today. He was really on fire getting inward pressure. The other player of the day has to go to kind of a twofold here, but Xavier McKinney. He came up with an interception. One of the reasons Luke Musgrave is in the try again another day is because there was a pass about 3/4 of the way through where Love threw to Musgrave. They weren't doing that a minute ago. Musgrave then, tipped it up into the air. Yes, it would have been a contested catch. Still tipped it up into the air, and it went right into the hands of a waiting Xavier McKinney, who then had a nice return on the interception. Also, the very last play of the day, Love made not his best decision as he dropped back, threw it into the end zone. We're doing basically like red zone drills here. Throws it into the end zone, trying to complete it to Christian Watson. Evan Williams jumps the route, gets the interception. Those are the only 2 interceptions on the day. So very strong performances from all 3 of those defenders. But, of course, the natural consequence of that is the rougher days was had by Jordan Love and Luke Musgrave. And I got to say, overall, on the whole, I just have not seen much from Luke Musgrave this camp. Let's not overstate it, right? He's still going to be a weapon in the seam. He'll still be incredibly good. But the reality is, 12 days into camp, yet to really see a lot of highlights from the guy. Most of his work has been underneath, or little curl routes, or drops. It's been a thing this camp for a number of receivers, something that has to get shored up. Other than that, notable drops on the day happened to be by Joel Wilson. He had a big drop. Samari Toure had another drop today. The pass was a little bit behind him, but nonetheless, a drop's a drop, and that is the case for Toure. Toure also had a fumble today. It was a muffed punt during punt return, so take that for what it's worth. Then there were two notable pass breakups, one by LVN. That one occurred at the line, and then also Hopper. Hopper now having back-to-back really strong days. This one a pass breakup in coverage in about the middle part of the field. So very encouraging stuff for the third-round linebacker. Kind of, I don't want to say looking to capitalize because he's not really competing with Edgerrin Cooper, but he is beginning to make some plays while Cooper has been out. Notable. So there you go. Packers really do appear to be pretty like 5 deep at linebacker when you factor in Walker, McDuffie, Cooper, Hopper, and Eric Wilson. Whether Welch makes the roster now will probably come down to his special teams. So then, just a stream of plays for you, just to give you an idea. These were some big ones that aren't going to get talked about by many others. TJ Slayton absolutely absorbed Marshawn Lloyd on a run. This was about 80% of the way through practice. Lloyd ran it up the middle and became one with TJ Slayton, really. Then another play, this was at the very end of practice. This was a really good play by A.J. Dillon. Love drops back. Dillon's running an angle route. Love drops it over the line into Dillon's hands. And Dillon, it is a little high, catches it just as a handball kind of up here. And then the contact, he does get hit at about the waist. And he just doesn't really care. Like, it didn't really move him at all. He held onto the ball just with his hands and then turned, got another yard or two before going to the ground. It was a very, very impressive catch for A.J. Dillon. And then another one, I mentioned Hopper having the pass breakup. Good Lord, be quiet. Hopper having the pass breakup in the 120 drill. He also had a tackle there. And then I also have how Monk was blown up by Slayton, and that would have been a sack on Clifford if we were counting sacks. Very rude. So then, just to give you a stream of plays here before I wrap up, just to give you a feel of what was going on today. But Sean Clifford to Swinson, middle, big gain. Clifford to Merriweather on a sweep. Couple yard gain. Love dropping back, throw away. That's the one where Wyatt got the pressure that I mentioned earlier. Yeah, now y'all are just annoying. Sorry. Promise they weren't that loud before when I sat down and prepped. Then we had Clifford with a screen to DuBose for a couple yard gain. DuBose making another couple nice catches today. I believe he continues to contest Heath for wide receiver 6. We'll just see if it comes to fruition. Then we got Pratt dropping back to Wilson. That was the drop for Joel Wilson. Love rolls right. One of the nicer plays of the day. He rolls to the right, finds Wicks on a crosser for a 15-yard gain. One of the very few, very productive plays from the offense in that first 80% of practice. Pratt then hitting check down for Merriweather for a yard. Love batted down at the line by LVN. Then Pratt, another check down. This one goes to Emmanuel Wilson, couple yard gain. Then beyond that, just to continue to give you a flavor, I do want to give you these for sure. This was the minute 20 drill, just the ones here. So first down, basically it's a minute 20 left on the clock. They've got 40 yards to drive down the field. Love to Musgrave, out, few yards. Love then to Wicks slant, another slant for Wicks today. That one went for a first down. Then Love drops back, and you could see it because we were kind of sitting behind you. We got to see the play develop a little bit more. Wicks goes straight out and then hits the corner route and just breaks free. Just breaks open from the secondary. Love drops it in a bucket where only Wicks could get it. That was a very nice play. We're talking probably about a 25-yard gain. And then Love to Watson. That's the interception for Williams. Jim, what's up, Jim? Jim saying, ask MLF, is there interest in signing Bakhtiari as a swing tackle? You know, Bakhtiari's done, like at least with the Packers. That's what I got. I just cannot picture a world where they bring David Bakhtiari back to be a backup. I also can't picture a world where David Bakhtiari accepts a contract to be a backup anymore. Like, part of the reason he's gone is because he wanted to get paid again, and he got to prove he's healthy first. But I will say, like, swing tackle, yes, thus far has been a problem. No doubt about it, okay? But I got to believe that if Rasheed Walker or Zach Tom were to go down and miss regular season action, the idea is not so clean cut as to just throw Kadeem Telford out there, throw Caleb Jones, Travis Glover if he makes the roster. I don't think it's as simple as just plugging one of them in. I think what we would see first is taking Elton Jenkins or Jordan Morgan if he's ready, kicking them outside, and then using Sean Ryan as your sixth offensive lineman, plugging him in to whatever gap was left by who kicks out. I think that would be the first plan for a tackle injury. But that does, there is being a lot left to be desired at the tackle spot thus far. Kadeem Telford against Rashawn Gary, at most against Rashawn Gary, but in one-on-ones every day, it is a joke. Kadeem Telford is getting blown right by. Today they split reps one-on-one. I'll read off one-on-ones in a second. But, I mean, when Gary annihilates Telford, it's like Telford's not even there. And Caleb Jones does do a good job when he's able to get his hands on somebody, but for these quicker rushers, or if you're asking Caleb Jones to get out in space, move to another level, he's just kind of lumbering yet, and that's the issue there. And then there's Dillard, who we know has really been struggling in pass pro, although he's at least been competent as a run blocker. So I got to believe the first plan for tackle would be to kick out Elton or Jordan and then go from there. So let's go to those one-on-ones since we're talking line. This is every one-on-one matchup. Now, the way that I grade these is if there's a tie, I give it to the credit to the offensive lineman, because that's ideally what you want, right? If an O-lineman ties with the D lineman, that means a play isn't being stopped before it should. Win for the offense. So here we go. Carl Brooks versus Jacob Monk. This is a total of 4 reps. Brooks getting 2, Monk getting 2. Again, Monk lining up at right guard for these one-on-ones. Then Preston versus Rasheed Walker. Preston winning both of those. Sheed ultimately just kind of looked slow today against Preston. It hasn't been a consistent issue, but today, his hands were just kind of slow on Preston. His kickoff was just kind of slow. I don't know what was going on with Sheed, but Preston beat him rather handedly. Then we had a fantastic matchup, Kenny Clark versus Elton Jenkins. Elton Jenkins won both. Then we had TJ Slayton versus Josh Myers, 1 apiece for each of them. Wyatt versus Ryan, 1 apiece for each of them. Gary versus Telford. As I said, it's just a laugh when Gary gets Telford in a good spot. 1 for Gary. But there was one where Telford also stopped Gary, and Gary was not too pleased afterwards. Then LVN versus Caleb Jones. LVN just way too fast for Caleb Jones. It looked like he wins both. Then we had Kobe Wooden against Royce Newman. Royce Newman won both. I'll say it again. I think Royce Newman's chances to make the roster are a lot better than a lot of people think, but we'll see as this continues to develop. Then you got Jonathan Ford against Lecatus Smith. I mentioned Ford yesterday, but it deserves another shout out. He is looking so much better than he did last year, I believe the year before. This slimmer Jonathan Ford looks like a significantly more effective rusher than we have ever seen. And there was one play in particular today going against Smith where Smith began to go into his drop back, and Ford essentially just pushed him to the side like it was nothing. And Smith has been one of the best players in one-on-ones through the 12 days. I've talked about Smith before. He's been a nice surprise. Ford dispatched him with ease today. Then we had Waiga against Tenuta, 1 apiece for each of them. Kingsley Enagbare against Travis Glover. Glover kind of had the Rasheed Walker thing going on, just looked slow. Those were some easy wins for Kingsley Enagbare. Then we had Aaron Mosby against Rasheed Walker. Rasheed Walker won both of those handedly. Esther against Monk. Esther won that one. And then we had Waiga against Lecatus Smith. Smith winning both of those, at least against Waiga. So that's really kind of the day. A couple of things that I did want to make mention of. Multiple run stops today from Brenton Cox Jr. That was really nice to see. When you hear the name Brenton Cox Jr., you don't necessarily think run defense, at least based upon last year. Today, multiple run stops for him. Ultimately, basically, anytime it went to 11 on 11, the defense pretty well dismantled, except for one series of events that took place. When they went down into the red zone, at the very end of practice, is where the offense finally began to be more productive than checkdowns. So, for instance, in the 3 sets, there was love to Dobbs. And Dobbs, this is probably McKinney's worst play of the day. Dobbs smoked him on an out route. That was a touchdown for Romeo Dobbs. Then Clifford to Toure on a slant. That one went for a touchdown. Next red zone play, love to Dillon for a receiving touchdown on what is kind of like a out route, basically. So, in the red zone, the offense came to life. Picked up 3 quick touchdowns. It was just everything else, like when they had to drive an entire field today, that the offense was just not at its best today. And that was kind of the theme of the day. The defense made a lot of really nice plays today, and I highlighted the guys who really did it. But that was kind of it. And I got to say, just the overall tone of today was a whole lot of players going, can we hit somebody else now? Are we good? Because we're in the dog days now of camp, and it's hot out. We're doing this again. Let's get there. So this is the last public practice of the week. On Saturday is the first game against Cleveland, so I would anticipate that the Packers are probably going to have meetings tomorrow. Maybe they'll have something closed doors going on, and then we'll see travel later on in the week, and then preseason game number 1 on Saturday against Cleveland. So there you go. That's pretty much practice 12 in a nutshell. I'll hang on for just a second yet, check my notes, make sure that I didn't miss anything that I really want to tell you, see if there's any more questions out there, and then it's time to wrap up week 3, I think, of training camp. Everything's a blur right now. I'm not going to lie to you. Yeah, I'm just looking at my notebook. That is about it today. So, all right. Thank you, everybody, for joining me. I will probably, just in case you're wondering, if you're one of the regulars around here, tomorrow, I know I'm not going to put out anything. Be on the lookout Friday. I think Friday I'm going to put out an adapted 53-man roster, basically taking stock of where we are thus far into training camp, modifying some things from the last time that we saw 53, like pre-training camp, do a new one, update it to see what changes there are. You can anticipate that more than likely coming out on Friday. Brandy, what's up, Brandy? I guess that is why the starters are playing this weekend. Yeah, this is my thing with this. I think I talked about it yesterday, but Jordan, like, they're still the youngest team in the NFL. Jordan Love is only entering his second year starting. All of the wide receivers are still third-year guys and second-year guys. The tight end, same thing, right? So I saw like the doomsday thinking out there. Oh, that is rude. Anyway, I'll talk a little in here. But I saw the doomsday thinking out there about Love and about, like, why is he playing in preseason? Because they're still young. That's why. Like, they're still a very young team. Obviously, they want to be smart. I don't think it's going to be like Love's going to play like 3 quarters or anything obscene. It'll probably be the first quarter, maybe 2 series. But they're still young, and they still need practice. And to your point, Brandy, the offense kind of sucked for most of today. Were there individual highlights along the way? Yeah, but the vast majority of the offense was like checkdowns and throwaways. Like, this was not a great day for the offense. So what you got to do? Play and practice, and that's what it's coming for. Captain Keble, sorry I'm late. All was good. It was a pretty good practice. It was not as lackadaisical as yesterday, yes. Captain Keble saying, if you have time or the desire, Watson and Love looking better. So I would just say, compared to last year's camp specifically, yes, it is better than it was last year. But there's still some things going on. The chemistry is still just not where it should be, not where Love has it with others, and definitely not with Dobbs. The thing, though, that is markedly improved, and it's not just with Watson, on the whole is really improved, is Love's deep ball. The accuracy is significantly better. Like, even the corner that I talked about earlier, that was basically a corner route to Wicks. That thing was put right in the basket for Wicks where no defender was touching it. And I know a bunch of you even saw it at family night. Love all of a sudden has this ability to drop in these high-arcing throws right where they need to go for the receiver. That is a welcome change. That is not something that he had all of last year. Even in the second half last year, he didn't even do it perfectly all the time. So that is development. The Love to Watson deep ball is in much better standing than it ever was last season. Beyond the deep ball, though, still needing some improvements there chemistry-wise. Jim saying looks like Ayuk is going to the Steelers. I did see that a little bit during practice. I mean, that does make a very fun receiving combo with Ayuk and Pickens, right? Maybe a very physical combo. I feel like we can say that. But the question for the Steelers is, hey, you got the receivers. Who's going to throw the ball? Packers Kingdom, Brandon Lewis from HPO. I'm not sure what that's about. But hey, Packers Kingdom. Kevin Kell was saying the untapped potential of Watson is going to keep me up at night. You know, and then even at the end, like the very last play where Love drops back, it's in the red zone, and he's trying to get it to Watson. But Evan Williams made a fantastic play and undercut the throw, picking it off. Watson then went down in a heap. And then all the offense rushed to Watson, made sure he was okay. It really didn't look great. After a few minutes, Watson got up, shed his pads, gave a thumbs up to the reporters. So it certainly leads you to believe that, yeah, maybe he got the wind knocked out of him. Maybe he cramped up when he hit. It is a very warm day. It was not unusual to see players cramping up today. But it's just that kind of thing for Watson. And I'm not even saying it's his fault. It's so unfortunate that it just seems to be, if it's not one thing, it's another. And that you just hope can get put together, that we can just see some form of consistency from all these guys. And even like, I don't want to lump Jaden Reed into the oft injured category, but like even Jaden Reed, right? Last year battled a number of different things, played with a broken rib, etc. Right? Absolute warrior to continue playing with that stuff, but it's not like he was 100%. And now in camp here, he had to go on the PUP for the first couple days of camp. Now he's got a new calf injury that we're going to hopefully find out some more details about soon. So, I mean, it's just, in order to see this whole 4 number 1 wide receiver offense in its full fruition, we actually have to have all of them available at the same time, and that is proving difficult. Packers Kingdom saying, how you like the defense? I mean, overall, it's tremendously better. I want to see them tackle. Like, let's get to that. And tackle for real, too. You all know, I know you're all regulars here, but like, one of my big pet peeves, if you can't tackle, the scheme doesn't matter. You can have the most perfect scheme in the world. If you can't tackle, it's not going to mean a freaking thing. And last year, the Packers sucked tackling. So we're going to see. Like Saturday, we really get to see it for the first time. A defense going against someone else, seeing if they can tackle, etc., etc. But on the whole, thus far, the pursuing defense rather than letting the offense come to them, that is looking like a much improved aspect for this team. Xavier McKinney has been a revelation on the back end. And you can tell the confidence that it exudes. Evan Williams is far more of a finished product than many of us thought coming into camp. Bullard has his splashes. We're still waiting on Ladapo to really, like, even for him to contribute. But it feels like, much like Brian kind of did at wide receiver, kind of did at tight end, like as we've seen, where he has a position that he wants to revitalize and just chucks rookies at it. Safety has that appearance now. And it's led by McKinney. It's just every single day, at least one of them's making some great play. And that's really, really encouraging to see. That alone should help out the defense monumentally compared to the safety play that they had last year. Special teams, Packers Kingdom. The kickoff thing is going to be really interesting. Even to this day, when they still do kickoff work, there still is occasional confusion from people on the field about, like, wait, what are we supposed to do? How does this work? And I don't think that that's a negative or abnormal. I think that's the case for basically every team right now. Go look at that first preseason game that aired last week. Like, there was confusion, right, when it came to kickoff. So I think that this is a fairly, like, we're going to see that throughout the preseason for sure. But in terms of the kicking competition, basically Joseph and Anders have been just completely kick for kick. Yeah, Anders had that one really rough day last week, Thursday, where he missed 3. That's really the only difference between Anders and Joseph to this point. Hale, I would be surprised personally if Hale was signed to be a true, like, competition. I mean, they gave him all the kicks today, but I just would be surprised if he's on equal footing to Anders and Joseph. It has the feel to me, granted it's early, but it has the feel to me that, like, all right, we know Anders or Joseph, whoever we don't go with, is probably going to get picked up elsewhere, isn't going to want to stay. So we got to get a look at who is going to be our practice squad backup kicker. So let's bring in Hale now while we got roster spots to do it. I don't know. That's kind of the way that it feels to me. Maybe it is more than that. Maybe Hale is truly part of a 3-headed thing right now to see the competition. But we'll see. We'll find out more in the coming days. Kingdom saying, I think we curse. Nobody can help our injuries. It's the big time guys going down. Yeah, I would just say, too, just to add it, like, I know after family night, there was some real concern about, like, Josh Jacobs. Well, then Jacobs was back the next day. Like, it is camp. Guys have, and the medical team have lower standards for sitting a day out in camp than they obviously would in the regular season or a game, right? Plus, like, we did see Cramps today. We did see, like, just minor stuff. Guys go down for a few plays and then come back in. We're kind of at that portion in camp, too, where it's just warm. It's humid. Everything sucks. Everything kind of hurts. Like, so that's part of it. The new medical staff can stop hamstrings and calf injuries and go injuries. It would be nice. It would be nice. First, it looked like torn pecs was going to be a problem. Now it's all the soft tissue stuff is back. It is what it is. What do I think of the team as a whole? Yeah, I mean, at the very least, it's going to be a serious contender in the NFC. They should match at least what they did last year. I think anything short of what they did last year, we got to chalk this up ultimately to being a disappointment. Captain Kebble's saying, wonder what makes this defense feel different than past years of, oh, look, good guys. I really do think it's an attitude thing, right? There's quotes out there from different coaches and whatnot about like how offense is for the schemers, defense is for the athletes, right? Like those kind of quotes are out there. I do think it's an attitude thing. I think Barry's defense, Captain Kebble's, you and I have talked about this a lot before, right? Barry's defense was very like, we're going to do our spread it out scheme. Even when he switched to man, it still was a not very aggressive for man. Even his blitzes weren't very aggressive, right? But it allowed the offense to move first, right? And then space out the zones, see where they go, etc. Like allow the offense to come to you. Or specifically for the D-line, Kenny Clark has talked about that, how their past job, it used to be read, react, then hit. Whereas Hafley has come in and said, we are going to dictate what they do. Which is a change we've all been begging for a really long time, right? And we're seeing it now. We're seeing more guys shoot the gaps. We're seeing when they do blitz, it is more aggressive. We are seeing just on the whole, I don't think we've rolled out all the exoticism yet, but we are seeing this different brand of aggressive defense that we really did not see last year. We're also seeing for the allowance of a lot more chirping. Rashawn Gary, I'm not sure there's been a day where he hasn't agitated some offensive linemen by just not shutting up. And then you mix in Jair, Nixon, McKinney, like they're all talkers back in the secondary. The defense is very chatty right now. And that in and of itself, well, they've always had some, but now it is so much louder, so much more out there. And I think that's a part of the attitude shift as well. Kingdom saying, so Myers is out because his dad had died. Seen it on Twitter. Yeah, damn, that sucks. I mean, think of whatever you want of Myers of the player, right? But the reality is, like, that sucks. That sucks for anybody. I had a bad feeling that it was that or something along those lines, that it was a passing, because the way that it was like he missed like 3 days, came back for 2, and then was out for 1 more. And I think we all know just from life, like, generally that could be something happening and then a scheduled funeral, right? So if you saw it on Twitter, if that is indeed the case, yeah, wow. Thoughts to Myers. Hope he's doing okay. Cabbles, this will be the last one before I got to jump on out of here. Captain Cabell saying, Barry, I think just asked too much of too many people. Too many, if not A, then B or C, but only if not D. But if it is B, watch out for E. There's just so much what's mad now. I'm inclined to agree. Everyone has talked about how Hafley's defense is schematically just more simple, right? It's that dude has the ball. I'm going to hit him now. And you're not going to get yelled at for it. That's the way defense is supposed to be at its core root, right? And I think that that's kind of what he's implemented. And I think the players are more than happy about it. So, all right, everybody, I'm going to jump on out of here. Like I said, be on the lookout Friday. Friday, I'm going to put out an updated 53-man roster. Rude. And then next week, more live coverage. I haven't decided if I'm going to do anything for the preseason game yet. Probably not. I didn't last year. We'll see. Maybe I'll see something Sunday morning. I don't know. But Friday for sure, 53-man roster. And then next week, we're back at it. More Packers training camp. So thank you, everybody. Go have a great day. And as always, go Pack Go.